Hey there, this is a review for our Castle Crusades campaign, session 85. It had 3 players, so in this session we had the characters Sprawl, Lork, and Cosmo. We picked up where we left off. Cosmo and Sprawl had a lot of interplay in the last session. As a matter of fact, I think it was only them in the last session. I could be wrong. But they go looking for Lork to fill him in on what is going on, what they've learned about Cosmo and the ambassador, and Cosmo getting visited by an avatar of Yundala. So they go and find Lork, who's when he's not out hunting or whatever here in Highhold, he's helping with construction. Moving stuff around. He's helping. They talk, and Lork gives Cosmo the luck blade back because he finds out, Cosmo tells him that he gave up Woe and that Sprawl is currently holding it, or, taking care of it. They also tell Lork that Sprawl had cast Detect Evil on Cosmo and he radiated evil. But the sword was way, way, way more evil than Cosmo was. So they knew the sword was a danger. Lork and Sprawl vow to help Cosmo save Roscoe's soul. Roscoe's Cosmo's brother. His soul is being held by the ambassador as kind of like leverage. So Cosmo will do his will. They're not sure how they're going to do it. They don't know really anything about the ambassador, but they want to help their friend. They go then and they find Grandmother, and they ask about the Valley of Bones, and they start to make plans to go there. Their thought is that they know that the giants there have the Anvil of the Allfather, which combined with the Starforge in Helgrim Hall could be a very powerful tool for their enemies, and they want to deny them that. So there's some chatter about that, and they talk about the history of it. We went over the history of it, where the original founder of Helgrim Hall made this sword that Lork now actually carries. It's a giant slaying sword. So there was some talk actually from Sprawl about maybe Lork giving that sword back in tribute, and maybe the giants. And Lork's not into that idea at all. Like, it's a powerful tool, and he doesn't want to give it up. But it's different than Woe. It's not a sentient blade. Like, it's not evil. It was made to fight evil. So that will be interesting to see if that comes up again. During all this, Lork is also training Bruin, who is his young ranger apprentice. And he decides to take him with him to the Valley of Bones. He's been very hesitant about getting Bruin into the mix of things because he doesn't want to get him killed. He has great responsibility for him, and doesn't want to get him killed. But he also understands, I think, that ultimately he's got to get his feet wet. Out of game terms, Bruin is like 2nd level, and Lork is 8th, working his way towards 9th. So he needs to get his feet wet, and he's eager to do so. So this goes on, and then there is a bit of Cosmo's off doing his own thing, generally trying to avoid Grandmother, who is good about giving him tasks that he doesn't want to do. So he's trying to avoid her. While he's doing that, he hears a little bit of a commotion up near the storerooms where the town keeps their supplies that come in from Iredale Stronghold and stuff, the aid that they get. And when he gets there, he sees these 2 large robe figures in there attacking Gorman, the leader of the town, which sets off red alert flags for Cosmo, because he was tasked to kill Gorman by the ambassador, and he's refused to do that. So he's like, this is not good. So he starts calling for help, and he rushes in to try to help Gorman. The one of Gorman's like semi-conscious. He's not fighting back. He seems to be down. And they one of the two drags him into the storeroom out of sight, and um, the they they're gonna probably kill him. Like he's nervous, and they get a better look. Cosmo gets a better look at these entities, and it's the Babu demons that they dealt with in Moss Haven that took Eudora. They may not be the same ones, and likely are not, but they're very similar. They've fought them before, and they know how dangerous they are. Actually, that was a very tough fight for them. So he's calling for help. That's raising alarms, and eventually, Lork and Sprawl and Bruin show up, and I think they showed up just as they saw the Gorman getting dragged off into the storeroom, because Lork bolts in there past everybody, trying to get in there. Before that, though, actually they fight. They're fighting in the street with one of these demons, and they have these big long bony finger, like these blackened skeletons with horns, and it hits Lork with a critical hit, and I rolled the confirmation to see what it was, and I rolled another natural 20. That's the only second time in the entire campaign I think I've done that. And he immediately takes 40 points of damage as he gets speared with this horn. Didn't drop him, but like that hurt. But he does go inside and help, leaving Bruin and Sprawl to deal with the one on the outside. Bruin is told to stay back and fire his bow, which he does, but it proves to be ineffectual. He doesn't have a magical bow. It's a normal bow. So the arrows, he makes some hits, and it doesn't affect him. So Sprawl is in there, and he casts, I can't remember the spell he uses, but he turns his fists into flaming fists, and he starts wading into this demon. And Bruin joins him. He does have a magical greatsword that he was given by Lork, and he pulls that and rushes in to help. And Sprawl's telling him to leave because he knows Bruin's not nearly a match for this demon, but he refuses. He's not going to leave Sprawl behind, so he's in there to help. And they go in. Inside, the fight goes on. Cosmo has taken a bunch of damage. He took a bunch of damage before the Sprawl and Lork got there, and Bruin. But eventually the demon inside is brought down. They were pretty tough. Like, I didn't give them a lot of hit points. I gave them the average hit points that they have in the book. But they're tough to hit. And they also are resistant to like edged and slashing and piercing damage. So they lasted a lot longer than their stats would make you believe they would. But Cosmo ended up getting the killing blow on that one. And outside, they're still fighting. And Sprawl eventually drops the second Babu demon and kills it. And they dissipate in a cloud of ash and brimstone, and just there's just a little bit of ash left behind when the cloud dissipates. Lork has a conversation with Bruin, and he's like, yeah, I told you to stay, but like you didn't have the tools to actually deal with what you're doing. So he goes to Cosmo, and he's like, let me see the portable hole. And they open up the portable hole, and from within, Lork pulls out Ronan's oath bow, which is, Ronan is Bruin's older brother. And who was, if you follow the campaign, he was killed many sessions ago in the Underdark by a mind flayer hunter. And Lork's been holding this bow, waiting for a time he felt Bruin was ready or had earned it. The quandary is he wasn't really letting Bruin do anything, so he hadn't had a chance to earn it yet. But he knows, like, if Bruin's going to come with them, and that he's going to be, if he's going to want him to stay out, he's got to have the tools. So he gives him the oath bow, which Bruin is ecstatic. Like, he's, very, he's going to do his best to honor this gift that he's been given. Yeah, so they want to learn more about the ambassador and his connection to the demons. They're not sure what's going on with that. So Sproul ends up at some point. There might have been some time that passed. We did a little time montage. A few days go by. Sproul sends a message through the spell to Nesna the Beautiful, who's a cloud giant that they've gotten information from before. She lives in a sky palace that is in the God Peak Mountains. It's in the highest peak of the God Peak Mountains. They went there some time ago to learn about how to get the pieces of the rod and get those connected. And he asks about the ambassador, and the only reply he gives is that she does not wish to talk about it through these means. So they then have it in their head, well, we need to go see her. That's a considerable undertaking. Like, if they were to leave now and do it, it would take them some weeks to get there. So they come up with this plan that they're waiting for Sir Derek and Rasnasarian, the brass dragon, to arrive. And they're going to ask if maybe the dragon can take them there and save some time. So sure enough, a couple days after the demon attack, Sir Derek and Rasnasarian arrive, and it causes quite the stir in town because it's a dragon. That's not a common sight. She lands like some distance from the walls of Highhold. She's kind of showing off a little bit, preening herself on the hillside and enjoying the attention. And Sir Derek walks up to the town to meet the party, and he is well met. And they fill him in on what's going on, and he does have some knowledge about the demons. He tells the party basically they're considered minor demons, and they're like, holy crap, like as tough as they were, they didn't seem very minor. But he's like, yeah, they're in the scale of demons, that they're not the most powerful. So they talk about this plan for Nasarian and Derek to take them north to Nesna's palace. And he agrees. He's like, yep, that's a great idea. He's like, she'll need to rest for a day, but we could leave tomorrow if she agrees. So and she does. The dragon agrees to take them. And the following day, they depart. Sir Derek, Lork, and Cosmo. His weight is inconsequential to the dragon, and but they get on. They rig up some sort of way for them to ride, and Sir Derek helps with that. He's had a special saddle made for himself, right out of like the Dragonlance books, if you've ever read those. Very much the inspiration. And they take off. Sproul flies as well, but he uses a spell to do it. I don't remember the name of it, but he uses a spell to follow along. And this was a fun scene as they depart, because I tried to really describe what it felt like for them to be on a dragon. They've never ridden a dragon. They've fought dragons, but they've never like ridden one before, to sort of feel all that power and stuff. And then she does like a flyby of the town, which everybody, when this happens, when they leave, like almost the entire town is on the walls of watching, because this is an event, So they do that and fly north, and they're flying up over the northern pass that leads beyond like the Fingers Mountains, and that takes a day for them to get. They have to spend one night in the middle, and then they'll make the rest of the hop. And on the second day of that journey, there's a point on that pass where it gives you a very commanding view of the land beyond the Fingers, and it also gives you a good view of the town of Algan, which was one of their destinations where the first time they came up here. As a matter of fact, they fought hobgoblin scouts up here when they first came up here, and then that's how they got kind of clued in there was something going on with the hobgoblins. But as they hit this point, they look down and they see Algan, and they actually see that the town's walls are being besieged. And What is noted about that, that's alarming enough as it is, that the town's under attack. This was one of the places that was probably going to be, not probably, was very going to be, they were waiting for the armies to come from the south because they were going to join in this battle. The walls are being besieged. There is no siege equipment. The attackers are literally climbing on top of each other, trying to get up over the walls, and they're getting close. I mean, there's points where the defenders are knocking back people, and they're having to defend the walls. So this immediately interests the party. Rasnasarian banks her way down, and they get a closer. They do like a flyby, and they realize that the attackers are all undead. They're like zombies and skeletons. And off from the attack, the attackers on the forces that are attacking the wall. I'm sorry. They see 4 figures, and there's these 4 armored skeletal figures riding, sitting atop like these giant worm-like creatures. And so Rasnasarian starts to make passes across the attackers, and she's hitting them with her dragon breath, which we'll talk about in a second. So she's scorching these attackers off, and she ends up making 2 passes along the walls. She also makes a pass along those 4 skeletal figures, and they see it coming, and the last the party sees of them, the worms turn. They have these big mandibles, and they turn and they dive back and start burrowing into the earth and disappear. And they probably took some damage, but they're not done for. Sprawl is joining in. He's casting a lightning spell that he has. And so they're scorching. They do a pretty good job of decimating the forces. Rasnasarian drops Cosmo and Lork off on the wall, and then lands in front of the gate because there's a mass still trying to fight into the gate. And Algan has very sturdy walls, and it has like a tunnel-like gate that goes through a large dirt berm that's been reinforced with these huge logs. And the dragon and the paladin drop down in front of the gate and start just going to town. She's using physical attacks now, and the Sir Derek draws his sword and then just starts engaging. Lork eventually makes his way, I think, down from the wall to the gate to help him, and then they cleared the gate out. This was all done narratively. Like, we didn't roll any dice for this. It was just a narrative description of what was going on. My players, they all had input in what their characters were doing. And it came off very well. I got a lot of feedback from that. We've done this stuff before. I think it's a good way sometimes to handle bigger battles and such. And sometimes we involve a little bit of dice rolling, but this didn't call for it. So this worked pretty well. They end up meeting with Ulfric Stormcrow, who's the leader of the people in Algan. Algan's not a big town. There's probably about 800 people or so, I think, live in Algan. And he tells them that was the 3rd attempt that they'd made at breaching the walls, and they'd been under siege for about a week. So with that done, they plan to continue, as far as I know, to Nesna the Beautiful's palace. That's where they're going next. But they couldn't just, Sir Derek definitely wouldn't have let it happen, and the party's not going to let this happen either. Like, they couldn't just go by as Algan was getting attacked. So that's where we ended the session. It was a real good session, real fun. We're playing again this Sunday as long as schedules align. So I'm in the process of prepping that session. Really good. I mentioned Rasnasarian's Dragon Breath. So this we discovered after the session. Somebody, I think it was my son, went to look up like what her Dragon Breath damage would be. And we discovered that brass dragons actually don't have fire breath. They have like sleep and fear, which honestly I think is pretty lame. So we've already established that she has fire breath. So in my setting, brass dragons have fire breath. So if anybody's caught that in the comments in the previous videos, because she did use her dragon breath once to destroy the unholy avenger that they got from the Eldani Lord, undead Lord that they defeated. Excuse me. So, yeah, they did. It was a good session. I'm looking forward to the next one to see where they take the campaign. This is a good case of you throw out some stuff in the party. Just the players do what they will with it. I had plans for them to go north. I didn't have plans for them to ask the Rasnasarian for a ride. I had planned, and my son actually asked me this after the session. What I had in mind, and I was like, I thought they would go, by their mounts or whatever. They were going to get engaged in a battle in the northern pass, because there was some set up undead up there that were like kind of guarding the pass, but they avoided all that, which was fine. That's the way it works. I want them to throw me curveballs, because then it makes the game fun for me too, right? So. We didn't use any terrain or anything. I had some miniatures ready, but we didn't use any terrain or anything for this session, so which is fine. We don't use it every session. It just, we use it when we need to. But so I think their plan still is to go and try to retrieve the Anvil of the Allfather. That's their ultimate plan. So they want to get that back, so their enemies don't have that tool available. I never thought, I threw that out there as some lore and stuff, and they latched onto it, and they're going in that direction. That's not a direction that I have like all planned and plotted out. Like it's just something I put out there, and then they got the idea. Oh, we need to go do this, so they can't have it. And I'm like, but makes sense to me. Let's go do that. So again, just them, taking the game in their own direction, which is fun. But I appreciate everybody watching the videos. There's been a real uptick in like subscribers lately, which is really neat. I appreciate everybody subscribing and commenting on the videos and liking them. Thank you for that, and I will catch you all at the next one.